All right, welcome. It's End Hype Live. Today I have a very special guest, king of the podcast, king of Clubhouse, my boy, my podcast mentor, Zach Babcock. Zach, what the hell is up, man?
What's up, Callye, man? How you doing today, dude?
I'm having fun. I'm glad to finally have you on End Hype because you are End Hype. There you go. Right. So it's kind of like I think we share a lot in our brand attributes of just there's a lot of fanciness and then there's a lot of just getting shit done. And so I've always appreciated that about Underdog. And just as an aside before we get in, like when do I get my Underdog beanie, man? Where's my swag, man?
I got to get you hooked up, man. Dude. We need to connect soon because I'm gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna launch a product brand and around but I'm thinking about, because I own alphaunderdog.com, and I'm thinking about making that a new brand and like a clothing line. And I got this new little journal idea. So yeah, I need to connect with you on that.
Yeah, let's blow some minds. But so for like the 5 people that are listening to this that don't know who you are, what's the story of Zach? What's the deal, man?
Yeah, dude. Clubhouse helped me get really good at keeping it super quick. So I did over 5 years of my life in prison for being a knucklehead when I was younger and not having a chief aim in life and making a lot of poor decisions. I got out. I went back just 20 days before my twin sons were born. And that's the moment that I decided to own the rest of my life. I got out of prison, became an entrepreneur, and then I got laughed at for the next 3.5 years. And then I launched the podcast Underdog Empowerment that put my brand on the map. Since then, launched a business around it and generated hundreds of thousands of dollars from the podcast. And we help other entrepreneurs do the same. And now here I am.
That's wild, man. It's easy to see why you do so well on Clubhouse because you have that story so dialed in, and it took me from that point A to point B like right away. And I'm like, where's my podcast? Why can't I need to get my voice in. I need to connect with Zach. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today is, I'm on this platform and I coach entrepreneurs. I talk to people all the time, and they want to know how to get their story out there and like how to create a brand, and they get swept up in all of these like overly complex things. And yeah, I just think that there's an easier way, and starting is the easier way, but I think that podcasts are a great way to build your communication skills. So I try to point them to you and I show them like, hey, look what this guy's doing, look what these people are doing. But I want to hear it from you because you just gave us that 1 second clip of that. Why should everyone have a podcast? What's the value of having that?
Man, I'm super biased towards podcasts because it literally changed my entire life. So, you might want to take this with a grain of salt. But, I went from literally before the podcast, everybody laughing at me, launched the podcast, got it ranked on Apple on day 3, and then had Billie Jean as marketing on the show the following week, and then interviewed, well over 50 people that many of you may know or may not know, but pretty influential people on the podcast. So in 1 week's worth of time, I went from everybody laughing at me to being able to sit down and have conversations with very powerful people. So that's just one benefit. But really the relationship aspect of being able to build these relationships with these people, like for an example, with Andy Frisella, I interviewed him twice now. And the second interview that I did last year, he agreed to do the show with me once every year, where I get to sit down with Andy Frisella and pick his brain about anything that I want to. So it's like mentorship from Andy Frisella. Where else am I going to get that? You know what I mean? It's priceless. And last time I asked him a very specific question. I said, hey, and this was last year. I said, hey, we're currently scaling our business. We're at a multi-6-figure business right now. We're scaling to 7. When you were at that phase with First Form, what did you as the CEO of First Form do? What did you focus on? How did you scale it to where it's at today? And then he laid out the blueprint. Like I would have never got that anywhere else. On top of that, like being able to leverage that, sitting down with Andy Frisella in person, and being able to put that out to my audience and show that I have that relationship. I mean, I could go on and on. I don't want to talk your ears off, but there's a lot of
just the access alone, getting access to a guy who gets paid $100,000 an hour to speak on a stage, and then instead of listening to him, you get to ask him a question and then listen to him, pick his brain. I think that pretty much that's an open and shut book case on the power of a podcast. But what we say is that proximity is power, right? And putting you in front of that person, that's super, super powerful. But to be able to build a relationship like that, I'm blown away. I'm having a lot of interesting conversations with people, and not Andy Frisella, not yet, but I do think that's.
I love how you said yet.
Yeah. Come on, man. I mean, Andy's busy right now. He can pop on later, but no. But when people want to build a company, so I'm dealing with people with products, right? And they have an idea. And the first thing after we decide what our intent is, what we're trying to achieve, what our ideal life would look like, why are we trying to start a business and doing all that thing? The next little stage that we go through is who we're trying to serve, right? And this blows people's minds because they're living life without intent, and then they're living life without intent to serve. They're like, this would be cool, people would like it, but it blows people's mind, and they get wrapped up in all of these books. Like, off to the side here, there's all these books on startups, and there's whole books written on how to like pick your perfect niche and your customer avatar and all these fancy things. And I got to give you credit for breaking it down in the most simple way possible. And it's been hugely powerful for me because it's one of the reasons we came up with Brand Misfits, really just boiling it down. But can you talk about who the hell we should even talk to, right? I think this is super important, right? We have something to say. Who should we say it to?
Yeah, dude. I love that question. And so I feel like it's very similar, like, because you're that guy when it comes to product branding. You also have personal branding and you have company branding. I feel like those are like the three different like avatar as far as branding goes.
Yeah.
It's so important what you just said is so I learned from my first experience. I specialize more in like the personal branding realm, and I'm really focused right now on the company brand with Podcast Powertrain that we're diving into now, because I'm building it to where I want it to where it doesn't rely on me to operate, where I don't have to be the one that generates the business. I want the company to be able to do it itself. And so that's currently what we get to really dive and sink our teeth into right now. I always love geeking out on this type of stuff, but I learned from my experience where I failed miserably the first time with my first personal brand, when I first started my personal brand. Before the podcast, I did YouTube for 2 years. I mean, if you go and look at my old videos, they're cringe, bro. They are horrible. I keep them up just so we can have conversations like this, by the way. But my brand then was Win with Zach. And for one, that's super cheesy. It's a horrible name. It just sounds lame.
Come on.
And for two, going off what you said, it wasn't about anybody but myself. It was self-directed, and so it was like selfish, and it wasn't a movement that other people could get behind. Win with Zach. And so I learned from that. And then when I really got serious about studying this type of stuff and figuring out why do people respond to certain things and how to capture that attention, how to create something that people want and to be a part of, I realized like, oh man, we got to create something for a very specific person, a movement that identifies with that person's identity and that they at least want to level up to, right? They want to become. Yeah. And so that's where I got really super intentional with underdog empowerment, because I was like, to break it down very simply, I was like, all these people are preaching this shit like, oh, you got to have this imaginary customer avatar and it's got to be like the demographics. Yeah, with certain products, yeah, that makes sense. Like you got to have the demo, and demographics do matter to an extent. But I was like, man, with a personal brand, when we're talking about you got like Apple, Coca-Cola, Walmart, and all these the biggest brands in the world. These are company brands, and they can morph and be whatever they need to be to serve their ideals. So they can make up imaginary ideals, customer avatars, and then be whatever they need to be to serve them. But when we're talking about personal branding here, we can't make up some fake imaginary avatar and then try to be the ideal that serves it if that avatar doesn't align with who we really are, because then it's fake, and then people can pick up on that shit. And so to break it down very simply then, and this I say simple, not easy, so the two people get those two mixed up too much.
Oh, yeah.
But to make it simple though, is for personal branding, all you got to do is get really, really clear on who you are, your identity, and then your message, your marketing message is always to who you were yesterday or who you were just starting out or anywhere in between that, because you are that person, you understand that person, and you can help that person. And it hits home every single time. And then that's what I did with Underdog Empowerment. I got really clear on who I was, an underdog entrepreneur, was broke at the time when I started it. And I was like, I'm just going to speak to that person. And so I was speaking to that person just getting started. I say, hey, I don't have all these answers. I'm going to document the journey, boom, 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 boom. And then as I grew, so does the person I was yesterday. And then so my avatar expands and I can help more people as time goes on.
Yeah, it seems so simple, but it's so powerful, right? Because what I keep preaching to everyone is that great brands stand for something, and great products facilitate a transformation, right? So if we know who we were and who we are and maybe who we want to be, it's really easy to naturally sell the transformation, not just a product. We sell belonging, we sell community, we sell novelty, we sell these powerful human emotions along a transformation of point A to point B. And we realize that where the customers came from, where they're going, and all the other things around that are like an ecosystem, and we can partner and we can offer like other products and other services and bolt on those opportunities. And it's all authentic and it's all powerful because our message is the transformation. It's not like, hey, I'm selling a hat. It's like, hey, I'm selling a hat because I have a brand and I'm transforming people's lives and they want to belong to my tribe. So I'm going to bother Zach until he gets me one of these hats, right? And you know what I'm saying? So it like it flips everything. And I keep I'm not ragging on Clubhouse because I'm loving it, but the most common thing that people want is t-shirt brands, right? And I just had our guy Ryan Williams on, and we were talking about the apparel industry, and it's kind of like this: is that everybody wants to make a t-shirt brand and then build the brand. They want to build like a logo and a shirt and some yoga pants and then build the brand around selling it. And I'm like, you got to sell the vision of who this person's going to be. And then by happenstance, you also sell a shirt that has a logo on it, right? That's how all these people are killing it. And it all just like crystallized when you had said that. It's like, I was picking engineers and specific types of engineers that were experiencing a life change. And I realized like they didn't really have like a burning platform problem. Like they didn't have to change their life. So if I'm saying, hey, I'm going to facilitate you starting a business, growing a business, like it's urgent for me because it's life or death for me. It's kind of like a casual problem for them, right? But when I started looking at who I hang around with, who my people are, who I was and who I am, that's how I came up with my tribe, the Brilliant Misfit Tribe. And I was like, that's just 23-year-old me fooling around, head full of ideas, not really knowing how to get those ideas and turn them into a business. That's like 30-year-old me kind of figuring it out, but don't know how to scale that business. It's like those people, they have to do it because there's not really an alternative, or they have to do it because it's hardwired in their personality. And I was just pecking away at this idea. But then when I heard you say it, it's like, hey, it's who you were and who you are. I was like, damn, dude, it's so simple. Like it's so simple. And I've yet to find a company that I've talked to where their customer avatar wouldn't be better if they changed over to that.
Dude, you just made me think about a million different ideas right there. There's so much. I want to flip the table if that's cool and ask you a question.
Go for it, man.
So, because I have no experience with selling physical products at all, and that's your jam.
Yeah.
And that's something that I want to get into this year. And we're either going to do it with the Underdog Empowerment brand or make a spinoff with the Alpha Underdog. What I mentioned, I think that's going to hit home as far as like, I don't know. But anyways, do you think, because you said something in the beginning there, what you just said was like, so many people try to just make this logo and stuff and then go out and build the brand. Do you think I got lucky in a sense of how I'm doing it now, where I built the brand first and now we're going to start turning it into like a physical product? Do you think it's almost smarter to go about it that way?
Oh, it's so much smarter to do this, because just like Grant Cardone says, who's got my money? My little thing is like, who's got my audience, right? So if you have a powerful message, and yeah, your branding can be tight, but that doesn't mean you have a brand, right? Just because your logo and your website and all the branding elements are tight, right? That's great, but that doesn't mean you have a brand, because a brand, like I posted on Instagram the other day, is what someone else tells someone else about your company. So it's a little bit about memorization. It's being memorable, but yeah, most people spend a ton of time developing a product. So somebody would rather come to me. They'd rather spend 6 figures developing a product and then try to figure out how to sell it, versus developing a brand and creating like a series of revenue positive ways of learning about developing products, selling products, building a brand, building an email list, and then creating the big idea, the crazy idea. So everybody's obsessed with, I call them hero ideas. They're hero because they're either going to conquer or they're going to die in the sword, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's like this, is we can, if we build a brand and we build a series of products that get bigger and bigger, our hero idea becomes an inevitability. Right? It becomes something that people are desperate for. They'll prepay for. People want to collaborate with. Partners want to co-brand it with and co-launch it with, and people want to sell it in their stores and all that shit. But if we do it the other way, we're pushing the rope, right? Instead of pulling the rope. And I mean, can it be done? Hell yeah, it can be done. It's just way more work. It's a lot less work to start a podcast and start talking to people and build a following and then ask them what they want.
Yeah, man. Dude, yeah, I'm sitting here like, oh shit, because I'm sitting here thinking about it like, yeah, like kind of going back to what you were just talking about even before that too. It's like having it's the identity at its core, right? Because it's always who you're speaking to, and you're building a movement around a specific type of person. And people always trip up on that. It seems like I did when I first started. I didn't know. I had to learn through experience. And it's what so many people get stuck on. But then once you get it, then you get it, right? And it's like, oh wow. And so like, I don't know, this stuff fascinates me. But it's like really, like kind of going off like my model with the 4 W's, right? Which what I walk through everybody that I work with as far as with a podcast. It's the same thing though with any type of brand, right?
Yep.
You get clear on who it is, your audience, and then we talked about that, getting clear on who you were yesterday or just starting out anywhere in between. If we're talking about a personal brand, company brands and product brands can be completely different because you can make the avatar whatever and be the ideal to serve that avatar, because you can morph and be whatever you need to be. But you get clear on that. And then if you're talking about personal branding here, you when you speak of that, like how you hit on that though, how you even dig deeper and make them feel that shit is like you said, what are your core values? What do you stand for and what do you not stand for? And that's like your mantra, right? It's like your war cry. I'm like, like, hey, this is who you are, blah, blah, blah. You don't stand for this. You refuse to, like in hype. You did an excellent job with that. You refuse to get off into that fancy bullshit and that rah bullshit. Like, let's get practical here and let's talk about what actually works and getting shit done. When people hear that, like a guy like me or, anybody that's listening to this podcast, like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm tired of all these fake ass entrepreneurs, right?
Yep.
Because it's speaking so clearly to that person that believe it's a core value that you hold dearly. And so, man, it's just it's fascinating, bro. But hitting on those values, and then also, like you mentioned earlier, painting that picture of the future, that transformation
Yep.
of like, hey, we're gonna go from, like, I do it with underdog empowerment. We're gonna go from right here. Everybody's saying that you can't do it, that you're not never gonna achieve that vision, to proving those motherfuckers wrong. Like, that's the transformation. Like, you know what I mean? That's
Oh
the
yeah.
painting that future for him, man. I don't know. I geek out on this shit. I love it. Love
Yeah,
that we're
yeah.
having this
No,
conversation.
and what's so crazy is once we start telling the story of transformation, it's easy for someone to remember because they have to remember their dreams, right? So it's
Mhm.
really easy for them to remember your brand because your brand is the facilitator for the thing that they want, right? Not the it's not like a phone, right? It's a way it's a way to do business. It's a way to improve their lives. It's like, you know, it is it's the sun. It's like everything, right? And you're seen as facilitating that because you actually are, right? Because your values align with their values. You have shared destiny, all that fun stuff. But what's cool is, and what we're really getting into is, if you look at that transformation, we're just one facilitator in an ecosystem of facilitators, right? So people are like, how do I blow up my brand like this company? I'm like, if you think about you're existing, like you're a speck of dust floating around in this giant ecosystem, and these people are trying to change their lives, right? Where did they come from? Where are they going? And like when you look at those brands that are killing it in the market, those people that are thought leaders, not influencers, like they say something and people listen, they're influential, they're not influencers, right? You realize that if you're authentically serving them, those are people that you can partner with in the market. Those are the people that have your audience and they have the list. And it's not some weird, like, I know we like to rag on Russell Brunson, right? But not like it's not like list hacking, right? It's like this is we can do real partnerships with real people and we can serve the same group of people. And it's easy for me to say, like, hey, Zach, let me sell your product into my list because I believe in everything that you're doing because you're going to help my audience transform. But like, I might be a fitness company. I might have nothing to do with podcasts at all. But because we serve the same value, we have the same beliefs in the idea of transformation, we're tightly aligned. And this is what's blowing people's mind. It's like when you're in that.
Bro, all right, you got me fired up right now. Uh, question. All
Yeah.
right. So literally, I know the podcast audience can't actually see this. I know we're also live at the same time,
Yeah.
but this morning I got my cool little remarkable device. I don't know. You familiar with that?
I've seen the Rocket books. Is it like the Rocket book?
It's like it's a digital notepad. It's like
Okay.
really, it's like literally writing on paper,
Mm-hmm.
but digital. It combines both worlds, and it feels like you're really writing. And then you can do stuff like you could select stuff that you write and scale it down, scale it up, or copy and paste it to a different page. It's pretty cool. But anyways, I love it because I'm able to write stuff down. You know how the mind to paper pen
Mm-hmm.
connection, you can't
Yep.
replace that versus texting. So I love that aspect of it, and I get to keep it all. Yeah, and I get to keep it all in a digital spot, so it's all organized and shit. Well, anyways, this morning I literally mapped out my little routine, and I'm tracking every single little thing. Like I'm tracking. I have different things now, like grids, right? And it's hard to explain this on a podcast, but I have my morning routine, right? And I do stuff. I have my health log, and it shows the date, what time I went to bed last night, what time I woke up, how many hours of sleep I got, my weight, body fat percentage, my food log, where I write down what I eat and how many calories, protein, carbs, and fat it has in it, and my workout and everything, meditation, how many pages I read, all this stuff. I'm tracking all of it, right? And so like I finally I just got this device. I'm like, this is really cool. And so now what I want to do is I want to turn what I do and brand it like the alpha underdog thing or whatever, and maybe make it an app or like an actual physical journal or something.
That's awesome.
do you think like I don't know, and then tie it into that's what an alpha underdog does. They get clear on their identity, and then they
Yep.
build that through habit and reinforce that identity through their habits by doing it and tracking it, and it reinforces it that way.
I love that. It's so talking about that it's like that in business too, right? Is when you set out your intent, like I want to do this thing. So I ask people, okay, you want to build a business that you want to sell for $10 million. Every time we make a decision, you do a gut check. Is this the kind of decision that's going to get me closer to building a $10 million business? Or is this a distraction? Right? Is this the kind of thing that someone that runs a $10 million business would do? Right? Is this the kind of behavior that aligns with what I said my intent was? And yeah, dude, I think putting that on paper and putting it together so you can say this is what my goal is, and putting it all under the brand, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of people doing journals, and because it works, right? And it's something it's easy to get people to engage. We talk about training audiences to buy. Now you have some courses and some programs, so your audience is pre-trained to purchase. But a lot of people, they have massive audiences, and they launch a product and no one buys it because they're just looking at pictures of their butt, right? And it's not really there's no transactional value or relational value beyond that. So, but a journal is good because it's not a huge investment, and you'll get great testimonials off of it, and it's a great way to get people started. But you think of that whole journey, and it's like talking to Trent, right? He has hustle energy, and it's like nobody wants to be more energized, right? What they want is they want $1 million idea, right? Nobody wants discipline and habits. It's like that you need them to create alignment to do whatever it is, right? To prove them wrong, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you create that bridge, like you realize that, oh shit, Trent's product works too. Oh shit, like, anything that facilitates that transformation works, and it tightly aligns with the brand. And that's what I love about this whole this whole trip that I'm on, right? With this transformational change.
I hope that people didn't just skip over what you just said there, because what you just said, dude. All right. So have you ever read the book Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz? I can't say it.
It's on the list. It's on the list.
Bro, so he says this in the book. It's one of the most dense books that you'll ever read, but it's the only book about marketing that you'll ever need to read. It was written back in the 60s. It is the holy grail. Like, all the copywriters will tell you, like, this is the truth. It sells for $300 on Amazon, but you can go to breakthroughadvertisingbook.com. That's Brian Kurtz that owns that, and he was partners with Eugene and whatnot. And you can get it for $100 there. But anyways, it's worth way more than 300. But anyways, it's so dense, and the greatest copywriters in the world read it all the time. Like, they read it like every year type shit. Well, anyways, and I'm gonna end the hype about the book and get to it. But he says in there, dude, he says you can sell people. I can't remember the exact term he gave it, but either achievement roles or character roles. And so, like, the achievement role is like, you become a top 200 rated podcaster, or you can become a best-selling product developer, or I'm just made that up, but like whatever, that's like the achievement role. It can be obtained, and that's cool, and you could sell those all day long, but it's way more profitable to sell the character role, like saying I'm an alpha underdog, and that's like the whole brand that I'm talking about. And like you could spin up a bunch of different products, like the journal that I was talking about, the beanies that you kept asking me about, and so on, all the different product line that goes with that identity of what an alpha underdog does, because you can always keep selling that, like, hey, I'm a good dad, and then you sell all these products that are involved with being a good dad, you know what I'm saying? And so you can just keep on creating endless products that sell that identity, like you said, because you said people don't buy that pill for the supplement, they buy it for the $1 million idea. You know what I'm saying? They don't buy the journal for the habits, they buy for the identity of what you become. And so it's
Yep.
like sell that character role.
Yeah, you can. So like products can be sold for an achievement, right? It's like something direct where you get immediate value, but it has to be in the terms of brand, which is selling identity, right? So it sits inside this larger role, and your brand is really selling an ideal versus, yeah, people are like, I want to start a lifestyle brand. I'm like, what kind of lifestyle? Spending too much on t-shirts? Because like that looks like, it's not really a lifestyle that I want to be involved in. But if it's you have to sell some level of novelty or belonging or community or something, right? Like I'm into sneakers, and it's really easy because sneakers tell a certain story. It's like nobody cares that I have black red shoes versus red black shoes unless you're into sneakers. It's a tribal totem. Walking down the street and be like, oh shit, that guy's got those shoes. I've got something to talk to somebody about, right? When I was just in Mexico, somebody had a pair of slides on, and we started a conversation, and we ended up talking about business for like 3 hours, total random person, because I knew what kind of shoes that they were wearing. But it's like, because it like signals a certain belonging, and people will spend more money for that. That's why Supreme t-shirt's $90 and a Hanes t-shirt is 3 for $9, right? But there's no real tangible, like objective difference in those products, right? One's not going to like make you jump faster or run, jump higher, run faster, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like when we look at brands,
You get a little bit more airtime with the other one.
you have more airtime because you have less money in your pocket. But you know, but when we want to make like premium brands or brands that are memorable, like we're creating that same kind of elasticity. It just doesn't have to be for money. It can be for personal achievement or belonging or one of those human emotions, right? So it's like, how do we stretch that out? How do we make the $90 t-shirt version of habit forming, right? So
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
You know who I think did this really, really geniusly, and it's not that I'm trying to copy him, but it's like this shit excites me because I like talking more about the identity and becoming that person that you create, right? And this literally, like, I had to recreate myself from prison to where I am now, from drug addiction to what I am now, all this stuff. Like, we all do that. We all are always recreating ourselves, and it's the ones that can figure it out and do it with more speed. It's like so I always try to reverse engineer it, but who I think did this really brilliantly is Andy Frisella with the 75 hard. And he tied that whole program, that whole 75 hard, but that feeds right into First Form to all of his main business, right? And he was able to do 75 hard because it was like a natural occurrence of him, wanting to get in shape himself with that bet that he had. It was like in 90 days he had to lose whatever, I can't remember what it was. And so that's the reason why he created that program. And then it's built on a set core beliefs of what the whole Arte program is built around. And then, you build in those habits, and it's reinforcing it, ties right perfectly in with this supplement company in the health industry. And so it kind of almost is like a feeder. And then he didn't even try to monetize it at first. I bet you it was like he was geniusly engineering this the whole way because the dude's smart. But it's almost slipping my mind. The 75 hard, it ties like if you are, if for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's all health shit. It's like, hey, work out twice a day, read 10 pages, take your progress pic, drink a gallon of water, yada yada yada. All that fits right in with his brand. Then he did end up monetizing it with the 75 hard book. That's where I was going with it, with the 75 hard book and the app. But it's like, he's not like trying to make a huge margin on that, but that's like, that thing took off on its own. And I guarantee you, like, that's bringing awareness to the First Form as a whole. So I don't know. I just thought it was really genius how he.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause it all fits inside the brand, right? And he's selling a character,
An identity.
Yeah, an identity of
All
somebody
of it's
that
an
has
identity.
grit, that's working towards their goals, that separates themselves from the average person, right? So we say fight average, right? And
if you think about it, all of his brands do.
Yeah,
The
all of them do. That's why it works, right? And he could
first
put
form,
anything he wants inside of that, you know?
yeah. I mean, like they're different brands, but they're all the same core value. First form, supplement superstores, 75 hard, Arte Syndicate. They're all about living an exceptional life, being the most elite version of yourself, and not taking mediocrity. You know what I'm saying? Being
Yeah.
above average, being a stand-up person. Like they're all the same thing, but they're different brands that have, but they're like integrated. It's genius.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying is he tells stories about him not being a great business person and trying to, you know, not having fantastic customer service and struggling through this and, sleeping on a piss stained mattress and all of that. And then you see where he is right now running a 9-figure business. And all of those things that he's doing is he's saying, I'm the character, I'm evolving. So since I've been listening to him, he's lost all that weight. Since I've been listening to him, he's gone from 8 figures to 9 figures and started Arate and started 75 hard. And like his dream or where he is always big enough for your dream to fit inside of what he's doing. Right. So he's like the character and he's selling his character as, hey, hey, here's something like I developed this because it helped me lose weight. I developed this pattern of dealing with customers because this is the right thing to do, and then passing it on. So it always seems like it's authentic because it's just shit that he's done.
Yep.
It's just his transformation. We're just like 2 years behind, right?
Kind of going back to get clear on who you are, and then all your marketing messages, who you were yesterday, just starting out or anywhere in between. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's exactly what you were saying. It's not any. I don't think it's any fancier than that.
Yeah, and hype.
Yeah, like you're running a multiple 9-figure business, and it doesn't get in that. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, which is wild.
It's amazing. Simplicity always wins, but everybody always not always, but I don't like to speak in absolutes, but a lot of people confuse simplicity with easy. Simple does not mean easy. There's still work involved. It's simple. It's easy to understand, and you know where you're going. You know what you got to do. You just got to do the work and execute.
Yeah. In the startup world and in the like business software world, this company Gartner, they make this magic quadrant, and it's total bullshit, but they always rank on 2 factors. And the only time that I've seen that this works is this easy, hard, simple, difficult, like matrix. So if you draw a line, you have 4 cubes, is that people that are looking for shortcuts and tools, they want something to be complicated, right? But easy, right? So it's like set it up all the funnels, find the Instagram hack and then hit go. And then boom, you're a superstar. And then everybody that quits, they want things to be simple and easy, or they perceive that everything is just too difficult. But like everything in life I've seen that's worth doing, and your brain is trained to look for difficulty and overcome challenges, right? Your brain looks for hard things and then it wants them, right? Everything that I've seen that's worth doing is simple but difficult.
Such a beautiful contradiction right there, right?
Yeah, it's like how do you do it? And it's like just start. Like, but where? Like, okay, it's like starting the podcast. It's like you can just start with your phone.
Yeah.
Right. You could just start by going live, and get some practice. Like doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But there's people that are selling, they're selling like plans to build out whole studios, and people are buying that every day because they're like, if I knew all the equipment to buy, I'd have a top rated podcast. And like, but you've never made an episode. Like, you don't even know who you're going to talk to. Like, maybe you should just go live on Facebook, like on your laptop for a little while and then figure it out. And it's like, no, we want to make it complicated, because if it wasn't complicated, like I should already be doing it. And then if I should already be doing it, I feel guilty and like all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know. That's the end hype piece. Is like, it's supposed to kind of suck. It's supposed to be difficult, but generally they're pretty simple. It's like losing weight's pretty simple, but it's hard as shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. I mean, it is, it's kind of people, they overcomplicate it, like you say, and really it's simple, but it's hard. It's like, boom, you create the identity with the vision first. Like I'm currently doing it right now. My identity is 210 pounds, 10% body fat, six pack abs, optimal health. It's a very clear vision identity. Now the second step is behave like that person behaves. And so you don't become that overnight. That takes time. And so I'm reinforcing the identity through behaving. I work out 5 to 6 times a week. I take supplements every day. I get proper rest, all these things that person does. And then over the process of reinforcing that identity, then I become, which is the third step. Super simple, but that shit is not easy, especially in the beginning. It can get easy over time when you reinforce that identity and it becomes habit. But in the beginning, that's really tough to do.
Hell yeah. I love that. I believe that so much that my weight belt for the gym says create and become. That's what I have stitched in the back of it, because we create it in our minds. We hold the identity to be true, and then we can become that thing. It's really hard to become something accidentally, right? To be accidentally totally fulfilled and happy and successful in life. Like, I don't think that has occurred, or if it has occurred, it's probably not a very good game plan, right? So
Amen.
We create that identity, and then we can become that thing. We can reverse engineer it. So yeah, create and become.
I love that, dude. It's so simple too.
Zach, I've had you for about 45 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But before you go, other than Underdog Empowerment, where can people find you? Where can they jam with you?
Dude, I appreciate that. Absolutely, dude. So obviously, like you said, underdogempowerment.com is where the podcast is at and where you can connect with me. A lot of cool stuff going on over there. I'm glad you asked that too, because we're literally also finally, because we didn't want to build up, like you say, build the brand, or I can't remember how you put it, but basically create the t-shirt and then try to build the brand. Well, we built the brand with Podcast Powertrain, and now we're actually launching the official website, which I would imagine by the time this gets dropped should be rolling, because we're going to launch it later this week. So that's where you can get a hold of me if you need any podcast help. But definitely check out underdogempowerment.com. And I appreciate you having me on the show, dude. Today was awesome. Like, you got me fired up, and that doesn't happen very often.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Zach. Hey, and for everybody that's listening, we got to thank Zach for coming on. So if you got any piece of value out of this, and if you didn't, I don't think you were listening, because we had some fire there. But if you got that piece of value, share this out, share it on your Facebook, go to Apple iTunes, leave me a review, because Zach's always on my ass. Get people to review the podcast. Come on. Like, let's get those rankings up. But it's not just for me. It's to give more visibility to people like Zach that come on the podcast, right? Let's get more guests, and let's make it worth their while to come on. So if you can share this out, I'd really appreciate it. That's how we're going to grow. We'll be back. And Zach, I appreciate you, man. That's it.
Likewise, my man. Thank you for having me, Callye.
All right. This has been End Hype.